Cyberpunk 2077. Has this game been really buggy for you? I'm going to talk about how this game has been for me in my 13 hours in right after this intro. Welcome back to the DLJonesBooks channel. I'm DL Jones, and on this channel I talk about all types of story related topics, and it could be anything that comes from all types of mediums: movies, TV shows, books, audiobooks, video games. Anything that has a story could be a potential topic on this channel. Now, this particular video isn't necessarily about stories, but it's an add-on to a video that I did earlier this week about the video game Cyberpunk 2077. There's been a lot of news about how people are having a lot of problems with this game, and I just wanted to let you know about my experiences with the game. I think that I might be one of the lucky ones. Okay, so like I was saying, I have played, I'm guessing about 13 hours. I want to say I've played maybe 4 days so far. I've played every day since it came out. All right, so I'm interrupting this video right now because I recorded this video probably about a week ago, and since then I've probably doubled my playtime. And my experiences have changed a little bit from the recording of this video. I'm going to still show you the parts that I recorded. Just keep in mind, this is about a week ago. At the end of it, I'm going to give you a brief update on what has happened since the recording of this video. The first day I played probably 4 hours. I had a 4-hour session. I did the same thing the next day. And the third day I played, which was Saturday, I played throughout the day several times, and I probably played maybe an hour or two at a time, and I probably had about 3 or 4 different sessions during the day. Then I played a little bit on Sunday as well, and so I'm guessing my total time is probably about anywhere from 12 to 15 hours. And the way I play the game, I've been just taking my time. I haven't been rushing through the story or anything like that. I've been taking my time. I've been trying to figure out things, you know. I've been doing a couple of side quests and little gigs and stuff here and there, which, so I'm still at the sort of at the beginning stages of the game. So the side quests and all of that kind of stuff are just really starting to build up. So right now where I am, as far as playing the game, I have kind of gave the main storyline a break, and I've been going through my list of side quests, and I've been going by and knocking those out one by one. So how has the game performed for me? First, I'll let you know I'm playing on an Xbox One S. I don't have the new Xbox. I don't have the Xbox Series, any of this Xbox Series S or X. I don't even have the Xbox One X, and this is the high-end version of the current or last gen, depending on which gen you are in right now, Xbox. But I have the Xbox One S. This is the lower cost of the two that are available, you know. And it's not the one that doesn't have a disk drive. It's the one that's in between the disk drive-less one and the high-end Xbox One X. So far, I haven't really had many problems. My first problem happened probably at the end of my second 4-hour playthrough. Right when I was thinking about hanging it up for the day, I went into an area and I was trying to make my way to a certain quest, and I was going to save and then pick up from the beginning of that quest the next time I played. But as soon as I got right to the point where the person was about to speak to me to initiate the next conversation, the game froze, kicked me back to the Xbox dashboard. It was kind of messed up, so I just called it a night then. I just was like, okay, I'm not going to play anymore tonight. So the next day, I started the game again, and I want to say within the first hour, the same exact thing happened again. The game froze, kicked me out to the dashboard, and it was the same situation. I was walking up to a character, and it froze like right when the character was about to speak. You can tell the character is about to speak, and you was going to have the dialogue options to respond. It was like right before that happened, the game crashed and sent me to the Xbox dashboard. So this time when I did it, I just restarted the Xbox altogether. and I went on to play for some more hours. Now, those 2 times that happened is the only 2 times that it has happened so far since I've been playing. I've probably played another 7 or 8 hours after that second time, over the course of several different days and several different sessions, and it never did it again. As far as the weird glitches and bugs, only thing that I've seen as far as those type of things was there was one part where I was about to go do a mission, and I pressed a button to call my vehicle, and while I was waiting for my vehicle to come, I noticed something floating in the middle of the street. So I walked over to the middle of the street, and an item was just floating in the middle of the street. I think it was an ashtray or a data card or a pack of cigarettes or something. It was one of the items you usually will see on top of a desk or something inside of a building. It was just floating in the middle of the street. And I could walk right through it. It was just distracting, but it didn't do anything. And that's the only time I've seen anything like that. As far as frame rate and slowdowns, I can't really say I've noticed any slowdowns. One thing I have noticed, well, as far as slowdowns, one thing I have noticed is I like to, when I drive the vehicles, I like to drive it in third person. And I've noticed that the switch, you get in the car in first person, then as soon as you start driving, it switches to third person. And I have noticed that switch sometimes is slow, and it's slow to a point where I think it didn't work. So then I press the button and I'm still waiting. And then right when I'm about to press it again, that's when it'll make the switch. That has happened several times. Always makes me think I didn't do something right. But I haven't been getting in and out of cars that much. Usually I get in the car and I drive to my location, and then I'm running and walking everywhere. So it wasn't like it's a situation where I've had a lot of examples of that happening, but it is something that when it happened, I noticed it. It was kind of distracting a little bit. Another thing that has happened is I haven't had no frame rate drops where things slow down on the screen, but I have had textures and just the quality of the graphics lower on me. And I'm not sure why. It's like I would go and do something and the graphics will drop down to it kind of reminds me of like the earlier Grand Theft Auto games. The graphics, or the textures and stuff will drop down to that part. And I'm guessing what's happening is I'm getting into an area and it's loading the graphics, and it's taking a while before it gets up to what it is trying to present to me, because eventually it'll right itself and it'll get better. Sometimes those things will happen when I'm in an area where I'm not even in that area long enough before it does get to be the normal look. I'm just there and I'm seeing like the lower graphics, then I move on to the next spot, and and I never get a chance to see that part. I never see it fix itself. It just looks like low end graphics, like I'm playing on a Xbox 360 or something like that, Grand Theft Auto or something. For the most part, the game has just basically worked. I haven't had the problems that a lot of people are talking about. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, did I speak too soon. At the very beginning, in that brief warning I gave at the start of this video, my experiences were like that, probably my first 12 hours of the game, but now I have over 20 hours, and my experiences have not been the same as it was, from what I was describing up until this point. After I recorded that video, I played a lot more since then. Probably the same. I probably played more hours from the time I recorded that video till now than I did from the time I bought the game up until when I recorded that video. All right, so I'm trying to remember what I said, but I think at the time of me recording that video, I think I've had a crash. I think it crashed like maybe twice, and they were like, several days apart. So it wasn't anything where I felt like it was a big deal. I mean, it happens. I mean, I've had games crash on me before. It's not common, but it happens. So it's not anything that made me think anything. Since then, I have crashed, I don't know how many times. I would say over the next 15 hours of gameplay, which I've probably had that in addition to the amount I talked about, in the first part of this video. I have probably crashed at least once on every gameplay session. And usually when I play games, one session would be anywhere from an hour to 3 or 4 hours. I usually don't play any longer than that. Most of the time I would say on average my game sessions are probably about 2 hours. I may have more than one session in a day, but just at one time where I just play straight through for a certain amount of time is usually anywhere from 2 to 3 hours, I would say. But yeah, I've said it since then. I've probably had at least one crash to the desktop every gameplay session. And it's so bad that I can almost predict when it happens now. Usually it happens when the game is about to do an autosave, and it's usually one of the autosaves either just before or just after something big happens. Like if I finish a quest and there's a lot of dialogue, usually it'll crash somewhere when it's doing the loading in between the different dialogue scenes, in between the different cinematic scenes. So every time something like that happens, I'm just sitting there crossing my fingers that it doesn't crash. Because a lot of times when the game crashes, yeah, I can start it right back. A lot of times, depending on where it crashes at, I can start it right back and be right where it left off. There has been a couple times where it crashed, and then I had to, when I reloaded the game, I started before a mission that I had already gone all the way through with, and had to pretty much do that mission over again, fight all the enemies over again. And then of course, you know, every time the game reloads, the drops, you know, the loot drops and stuff like that may have different specs or stuff like that on it. But I kind of don't look at my drops until after I've collected them all, and then get later and I'm start messing around in the menu. That's when I really look at like the stats that's on the different drops that I have, what I'm going to decide to break down, what I'm going to decide to sell, what I'm going to decide to use or whatever. In that situation, I don't know if I lost something that I really wanted because of one of the crashes. And I guess it's a good thing I don't know it, because if I did lose something I really wanted because of the crashes, that would probably leave a worse taste in my mouth, you know, than just reloading the game and jumping back in and continuing my play. Now, as far as graphical glitches, by the time I recorded the first part of this video, I think I had maybe just one glitch that I noticed. Since then, I've had tons of them. I've had so many glitches. I see them all over the place now. And this is after the update. You know, they pushed out one hotfix that I didn't download until after I recorded the first part of this video. And then yesterday, or the day before yesterday, I'm not sure which day it was, they pushed out the 1.05 update, and I updated then, and I'll tell you about my experiences since that update. But yeah, glitches, graphical glitches, I just see them all over the place. Now, the thing about graphical glitches, those things, they may or may not take you out of the immersion of the game. It just depends on you and depends on how your mind works when you see those things. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's just like you just notice it and you're just like, huh, you know. But yeah, I've seen a ton of them. I've seen for example, there was a mission and I had to talk to a woman. I had to go into a room and talk to a woman. When I walked in the room, the woman was standing there talking on a cell phone, and I'm not mentioning the mission because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody who may have not got to this part of the game yet. So, but anyway, there was a woman talking on a cell phone, and my character, you know, in the game was waiting for her to get off the phone. So she finished the conversation on the phone, and she tells the person bye and hangs up the phone. And then my part of the mission with, you know, the conversation with me and that particular woman happens. You know, you click an X and all of this kind of stuff. So at the end of the conversation, the woman walks out of the room and the phone that she was talking on is still floating in the air in her place. You know, but it's like stuff like that is happening all over the place. Seeing things just floating in midair in different places. I've seen a lot of things where I'm just walking down the street and all of a sudden a character just appears in front of me and starts walking. You know, a lot of that kind of stuff has happened, you know, just happens as a constant thing, you know. It hasn't been anything that I felt was game breaking or too distracting, but I think for some people it probably would be distracting. It'll probably really annoy them, you know. I'm probably a little more laid back when it comes to those things, so it's more like I just notice them. The thing that bugs me the most is the crashing, because that takes you completely out of the game, especially if you're trying to get in a certain amount of game time before you go on to do something else. But then the game crashes and that cuts out, you know, some of your time, you know. It may even cause you to lose your train of thought, you know, what you was going to do next, or may cause you have to replay missions and stuff like that. You know, that's where I was at that point. Now, all of this was going on before the 1.05 patch that came out, I want to say either Friday or Saturday. I'm not sure. I downloaded it Saturday, so I'm not sure if it came out Saturday or it came out Friday and I didn't see it till Saturday. But anyway, I downloaded the 1.05 patch, got in the game expecting things to be better, and I would say it actually got worse. I started seeing different bugs. There was a section where I was riding in a car. I was on the passenger side of the car with a character that I'm doing a mission with. But instead of me being in the car, I'm kind of sitting outside of the car to the left, like I'm hanging out the window, and the car is just driving along. And I'm like, what's going on, you know? And then all of a sudden, you know, after we get to where we're going, I'm just standing outside the car. It doesn't, you know, it just kicked me out. I want to take this time here to ask you to make sure you subscribe to the channel by clicking the like button and the subscribe button below if you like to hear more content about story related topics. And make sure you click the bell also so you get notified when new videos are posted. And then there's a lot of little quirky things that happen, like when I go up to, like if I go up to a door or something where I gotta press the button to open it or press a button to try to interact with characters. Sometimes I gotta press the button several times before it does it. It seems like it's just sometimes randomly is not responsive. Then there's a lot of times where all of a sudden my character will be walking real slow. And it'll do that for a little while. And it's like right when I start thinking about closing the game out and restarting it, then he'll start walking at normal speeds. I don't know. But yeah, I've had at first, when I was first playing the game for the first few days, I saw a few bugs, but it was not anything really much to talk about. But since then, boy, oh boy, I think I've seen them all. I still don't think I'm as bad as what other people have. Like I haven't, but I feel the same way as I feel playing like the Elder Scrolls games, like Skyrim and stuff like that. Those games were buggy, but I like the game so much that I pushed through the bugs, you know. It seems like, I feel like this game for me is no more buggy than a Skyrim, than a Elder Scrolls launch game. But for some reason, people are really, really up in arms a lot more with this game than they are with, you know, Skyrim, how Skyrim was. And maybe some people are just having worse experiences than I am, because my experience is probably about along the same lines of when I bought Skyrim and when I bought Morrowind and all of those games like that. They were super buggy when they first came out, and then eventually they got better, you know. But I kind of feel like this is about along the same lines as that, but I'm guessing for a lot of people it's a lot worse, because it seems like the hate is a lot worse in this game than it is for those games. There you have it, my experiences with Cyberpunk 2077. It is, to me, the game is the Grand Theft Auto that I wish Grand Theft Auto was, you know. It does a lot of things. If you can ignore the bugs, it does a lot of things that is done in the Grand Theft Auto series, but is done a lot more interesting in the Cyberpunk 2077 series. And that's my experiences. I hope you guys are having a better time than me, and of course a better time than what I've hearing a lot of other people are having online. And that's the end of the video, and I'll see you next time.